episode 2 rolling.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the F Wonderful podcast.
Welcome back.
Myself, Owens, and Mr. Gunner Roadcastle here. Got producer Jamie behind the mic. Why don't you say hello, G?
What's up, everyone? Welcome back. If you made it through an hour of us last week, glad to have you back again. I'm a little excited about the better setup we got, at least.
It looks nice, man. We did a good job setting it up.
Yeah, maybe with a few more likes and subscribes, we'll be able to get a...
Maybe we can get a poster or some
backdrop.
shit.
Yeah, I'll be able to buy a F1 poster that I've always wanted to get. There we go.
There you go. Producer Jamie, how's your weekend been?
It's been fantastic. Watched the race, got some laps in. Can't wait to hear what you all have to say about it.
Was this your first F1 race to watch?
Yeah, it's the most focused I've ever been on one.
Wow, how about that? We got a new fan.
Pat on the back.
We're trying, guys. We've been trying to get this guy interested in racing just in general for quite a while. At least I have.
It's a tough ask.
It is. He's gotten into hockey, hockey of all things. Basketball.
It's unfortunate we just had to get him to become the producer of a podcast to get him into it.
Yeah.
But hey, whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes, man.
We're glad we had a new fan for at least one race at the Red Bull Ring in Australia yesterday.
Which, love that track.
Not Australia, Austria. I know.
Austria, yeah. Whoa. Let's not piss off all the Austrians or the Australians. Who knows?
Yeah, they're full of anger after this weekend with your boy losing.
Yeah.
Hometown favorite.
It was rough for the Red Bulls at the Red Bull Ring. Overall, I thought it was a good race.
Yeah, it was. If you think about the race last year at the Red Bull Ring, that was. I remember the memes going out last year about the most exciting part about that race was thunderclouds showing up in the background because on the off chance it might rain.
The flares, the orange flares.
Oh yeah, well that's always like one of the biggest things I feel like there because that's the Orange Army shows up there amongst other tracks. But
they sure did.
Yeah, it was close to the end. Leclerc looked like he had the overall pace, but after Sainz blew up and the reliability problems that Ferrari's had this year, and Verstappen was closing in ever so slightly those last few laps, it was interesting to see what was going to happen. It wasn't a blowout.
It was a good race, all the way from the start to the beginning. I mean, from the start to the end, beginning to end. Is that?
That's how I say it.
We'll get it right. Jamie, as your first race, what did you think, man?
I don't really have a great basis of comparison. But there was plenty of exciting things. I mean, we had a fire with it was Sainz. His car caught on fire. I thought the response to that was a little slow. Maybe if y'all can kind of get into that.
We'll get into it.
That was a little.
Let's go ahead.
So you all want to jump into that?
So you brought it up. Let's go ahead and we'll talk about the Sainz fire. So that happened towards the end of the race. You had Max, who just did not have any pace the whole day on Sunday. Now, he won the sprint race. He had some pace in the sprint race. Could have been because the Ferraris were battling each other and kind of gave him some room there. But on Sunday, he did not have the pace for the Ferraris.
I was surprised because, like you said, he won the sprint race. And all year, really, he's had the race pace over the Ferraris. The Ferraris have been winning the front row usually on Saturday, and Red Bull's taking the checkered flag more often on Sunday. So with that said, it was a little interesting that Leclerc was able to pass him, I think, on lap 15 and kind of change the narrative of the race.
He passed him 3 times.
Yeah, well...
with what seemed like ease.
Well, and then Verstappen had to short pit for fresh tires. And, blooper reel. And cut.
What the hell, man?
Oh, you didn't get her all dialed in. We'll edit that out.
Yeah.
I mean, you were cooking there though, man. That sucks.
It's okay. I can do it again.
It's fine.
Hell, we can just look at this camera right here and continue.
Could. Like Garrett Gunner G said, it's a blooper reel, bro.
Third week it'll be week 3. It'll be G-Man.
G-Man. The G-Man.
You gotta settle on a name, man, because it's you gotta really.
I'm gonna try. I'll try to focus on G. Garrett's gonna slip in there though. You know that.
That's fine.
Probably just want to call him Garrett.
My last name's Williams, so I mean Garrett Williams. You know Shawn Michaels, the WWE wrestler.
Yeah.
You know what his real life name is?
Garrett Williams.
Sure, my famous. We're rolling again.
Michael Shawn Hickenbottom.
Wow.
But he goes in wrestling he goes by his middle name, and his last name is his first name with an S added to it.
With an ass added to it.
Yeah, with an ass.
No, that's Billy Gunn.
No, Billy Gunn the ass. No, I meant S.
Oh, an ass.
Yeah,
He said
it's
ass.
a southern twang.
Well,
All right, let's edit that
fine.
out.
I don't even remember where we were at.
So Ferrari, they have been faster on Saturdays. They have had what I feel like their cars handle the high speed corners better. Red Bull, just like last year, much more straightaway speed. So I think Red Bull Ring is a trait where handling and downforce come into play more. So I think that's kind of what helped Ferrari get their mojo back. They had half the reliability issues that they've had lately. Someone was actually able to finish, Leclerc.
So that's where we're at. Sainz blowing up. But so Max he got passed by Leclerc like halfway through the race.
Right, so they were on
Didn't have
alternate.
the pace.
Yeah, so
And then Sainz was coming up to pass him first second, and there were going to be 15 laps left or so.
I tell you, I remember watching that on board when it happened, and I was thinking Sainz is going to get him in this straightaway. And then all of a sudden he starts slowing down, and you're like, oh my God, another Ferrari issue. And yeah, so I guess, what was that? That Sector 2, I can tell you it was. I don't know what turn. But
I think it was
going
going down into turn 4.
Right, yeah, it was going downhill, and then so you knew he was having an issue, and then it seemed like just another Ferrari failure.
And it caught on fire.
And that's what was kind of surprising was it just seemed like it wasn't a dramatic slowdown until he stopped, and then the fire.
And then it caught on fire, right? So he stops uphill and tries to brake, doesn't brake. So
Off track,
he's
yeah.
on fire. Car's on fire. He's not on fire. The car's on fire. Goes to the off area, and no stewards come out to help him for like what seemed like an eternity.
That's what's shocking, because I feel like F1 has been, as far as racing series go, the best as far as safety in the last, I don't know how many years, but I feel like they've been the leader in that. But you look at Grosjean's wreck a couple years ago, their response, I think, saved his life.
Grosjean.
The Phoenix, yeah. And I remember when he went to IndyCar last year and his car caught on fire, it seemed like he had a little, bad memories of what happened to him the year before, and he was just shocked there was no fire marshal or track marshals out there to put out the fire. And to see it in F1 after all of that yesterday, I was shocked. And then I also thought it was interesting, they seemed to turn the cameras away.
Did you see the clip of the one guy who starts coming down with a fire extinguisher and then like sets the fire extinguisher down and then walks away? Like walks away. He ain't running away. He's just like, oh, puts it down, let me walk away.
I missed that part.
And then the other guy,
But they, like I said, they cut
comes
off.
out with like a
feel
little
they-
wedge, right?
Yeah.
Tries to stop the car and like trips over the wedge, like almost goes into the side of the car where it's on fire. Sainz is trying to get out. He's about to catch on fire.
A good old Marshall blooper.
I mean,
Need a highlight reel for those.
so that
No, it's great.
that brought out the safety car though. Or
Yeah, it brought out the virtual safety car.
what's the
And,
difference?
between the real life safety car? They go, I think, 40% pace, and I don't know if it's electronically controlled. I'm sure I think they have to
Gotta be,
maintain
right?
a certain speed, but it
'Cause
doesn't.
if you're telling me go
the-
40% of your pace,
the-
like I'm not gonna be able to do that by myself.
The main thing that the virtual safety, the main difference really as far as the race goes is it doesn't bunch the field back up. Everyone's going to be in their same intervals as they were technically before the green flag. And then if you time it right, you can get a free pit stop out of it. So, and I don't really know who benefited from that. I don't think anyone did. Cause
Well, so
Leclerc and Verstappen both came in
Verstappen,
for fresh tires.
Both pit and got fresh tires.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if Hamilton did or not.
he probably did.
He probably did.
Yeah.
But so that brought out the virtual safety car and didn't bunch him back up, but gave Verstappen a small chance, right?
Yeah, it was one last chance, both on fresher tires, and I feel like Verstappen did have the better shorter run speed. So on equal tires, it seemed like it would have been, not to mention after the other Ferrari getting out of the race and the issues they've had this year, it did bunch it back up, and it did make that those last few laps
So you've been
pretty tense.
You've been racing a lot longer than I have.
I've been
a
racing.
race fan and know more about.
We can tell the fans
you've
that I've
been-
been a racer for many years.
You've been, yeah.
I don't care.
He's a real life sim racer. But so in all seriousness,
45 career wins.
in all seriousness, why was Verstappen slower on Sunday? Got passed by Leclerc 3 times. Versus Saturday and Friday. So he got pole in qualifying, in the sprint race qualifying, which we can talk about sprint races too, just in general. But then in the sprint race, wins that. And then on Sunday, just where the pace was gone. Like he
he had great short run speed, and that's what Saturday and Friday were about, the short runs.
He said it was the tire deg, right?
Yeah, downforce. Ferrari's got, like I said, they've had better downforce all year. They haven't had the straight line speed, and this track was more suitable to a high downforce track. So I think that allowed Ferrari, Leclerc, Sainz. That's the other thing we haven't talked about. Perez was knocked out on lap 1, and teammates are a big thing in F1. I didn't really realize the impact, but they play a big part into the strategy. And if Perez had been up there, that may have changed things up on the pit cycles.
True.
It was 2-on-1 after Perez was knocked out early.
Does this spell trouble for Red Bull? We got 2 races in a row where where Ferrari wins, right? You had Sainz win Silverstone. You had Leclerc win at the Red Bull Ring.
They're getting back to their winning ways.
Is this troublesome for Red Bull?
I don't know. What do you think? If I'm Red Bull, I'm not too worried.
I'm not that worried, only because Max got pole and won the sprint race and finished second in the actual race. Now, granted, some luck when Sainz's car caught on fire. He would have been third, maybe even fourth. I don't think Russell would have passed him. I think it was about half a second a lap slower. But I'm not too worried about Red Bull at this point. But I'm not on the moon like I was, 3 weeks ago.
Well, so here's the thing. You got to remember, this is Leclerc's first win since Australia.
It's true.
And-
Man, it hasn't been that long.
And when he
Wow.
won that race, he had a 44-point lead, and we were talking about how great Leclerc was. I think in one of our
We thought Red
pre-production
Bull was gonna
meetings,
run away.
I was saying he was going to have 17 wins in 2022.
17.
Yeah, after Australia. And then, of course...
Who's got the most wins in the season ever?
That's a good trivia question.
Ooh. We need to play a trivia game.
I believe Sebastian Vettel probably in 2013. I think he had 13 wins.
Okay. Then
Then he didn't win again the next year. That's the
A
most
lot.
I've.
I think Max had 10 last year. Lewis had 10 or 9.
Lewis had 8 last year.
8?
But I think he had like 4 straight seasons where he had 10+ wins.
Yeah.
Before that. No, yeah, that's unheard of.
That's unheard of.
Yeah, Schumacher.
He's good.
I want to say Schumacher also had 13 wins.
Hamilton's
Michael,
good
not
at the
Vic.
Formula One.
Yeah,
Finished
he's
third this week.
3rd straight podium. He's making a comeback. I don't know. That
So, all right. So here's the big question in the F1 community. Got F1 is a British sport, right? Like it started there. That's where it's biggest. Fair
I
to
don't
say.
know. No.
So
I don't know where it started.
Hamilton's probably the biggest name in Formula One.
Oh, for sure.
Mercedes is probably the biggest best constructor definitely over the last 10 years. They haven't lost, right?
Well, I think they just started being I think they haven't been in F1 that long.
But they came in and they were just dominant.
Yeah, this team
for
started,
like 10 years.
This team was what the Braun GP team was in 2009 that I was talking about with Jensen Button earlier.
Yeah.
After that, they formed into...
in the pre-production meeting?
In the pre-production meeting, yes.
We also talked about Brundle, which we'll get to.
Yeah, and then Mercedes... So this Mercedes team has been around since 2010. And then I think it was 2014 they've become a dynasty. They were the New York Yankees up until last year. And now this year they're the...
This year they were not good.
They're the Florida Marlins or whatever. Baseball team's bad now.
If I'm not mistaken, I think Hamilton, like in the second, maybe third race of the season, finished 10th and was on the radio like, do you even get points in 10th? Like, he had never been down there. He doesn't even know what that means.
Yeah, I think he was just showing off a little bit, if you ask me. But yeah, he hasn't finished there that much, so it wouldn't shock me either way.
Although in the past 3 races, well, Russell's haven't been out of the top 5 except once this year when he had a DNF.
He's Mr. Consistency.
Mr. Consistency.
He's upgraded his nickname.
From Mr. Saturday.
Mr. Saturday to Mr. Sunday, but still winless.
Still winless.
Yeah.
He'll get there.
You know how I feel about winless drivers.
How do you feel about winless drivers?
They're chumps.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Russell's pretty good, theoretically.
How many wins he got?
So, that's not the question. The question is, they haven't been good this year. Are they coming back? I mean, are they back? Like Hamilton's on the podium for the second race in a row.
They're certainly not back. Silverstone, they did look like they had made a return somewhat.
Well, I guess he got 4th in Silverstone.
But I think they're slowly. It's hard to say. I mean, yeah, Hamilton finishing 10th in what was that, the second race of the season?
Yeah.
That seems like a long time ago. I think Imola was even worse, where he actually went a lap down.
Oh god.
But that was a track position race. And I think they had bad pit calls to cause that. But in the last month or so, they've consistently been the 3rd fastest team. But I don't think they've...
They always come away with good points.
And Hamilton would tell you, I think even last week, they didn't have the car to win. But it was the first race where they led laps this year. It looked like the most competitive race they've had. But yesterday, honestly, I thought they were just... Hamilton was saying he was watching the battle for the lead on the big screen TV going into the tournament. He was that far behind.
They were about half a second behind a lap.
Yeah, I mean if Perez and Sainz are finishing with or if both Ferrari and Red Bull are not having mechanical failures, he's a 5th best driver at best right now. And Russell has up until the last few races, I feel like been the faster guy. So Mercedes, I don't think they're back yet, but I think Hamilton's kind of getting his swagger back a little bit, and I don't know how all the technical upgrades work in F1. You're always hearing about new upgrades each team gets.
Well, I think there's like a new regulation that's supposed to happen in the next race or so, where with the floorboards or something. Producer Jamie, look that up and see if there's going to be. I think there will be a technical. I'm not sure what race it's at. I think it's going to be Paul Ricard.
Yeah, it's after. Yeah, well, the summer break's coming up. So, producer Jamie, I'll put you off the spot here, but it's during the summer break. I think.
Is it?
So it'll probably be the Belgian Grand Prix where they, that's where always the biggest things change. But I think there's the politics are going on for.
I think it's a little too early to say Mercedes is back. Can we agree?
Yeah, they're still off the pace, if you ask me.
They're about half a second off the pace. Toto Wolff might be happy, and Lewis might be a little happy that their pace has gotten better, but they're not back.
Absolutely not.
No. Hamilton has won a race in every single season that he's been in F1.
It's Kyle Busch numbers right there for you NASCAR fans. It's impressive.
I think this might be the year that he does not win a race. Unless you've got, which could happen, you've got Ferraris having reliability issues, Red Bulls had reliability issues. You know, say Verstappen and Leclerc bump into each other, Sainz's car blows up, and Perez, DNF.
You never know. We're, halfway through the season. There's still a lot of
But
races
I'm not counting
left.
on it.
There's technical upgrades. There's the summer break. There's probably going to be more races where rain impacts it. We've seen enough races where rain has really changed the outcome.
I love a good rain race.
But I mean, you look at last year, McLaren. That they're nowhere near as competitive this year. You even look at Alpine, who've stayed somewhat competitive this year. Both those teams won a race last year.
Alpine won a race last year?
Yeah, at Hungary.
Ocon?
He won at Hungary.
I think Ocon is underrated.
I think he is too.
I like Ocon.
Yeah, I hope, and he's got a longer deal, I think, than most F1 drivers right now. So
he's been in there longer than I had thought too. I think he's like 5 years in. He just did like his 100 race, I think.
Yeah, 100th, 150th. But yeah, he's
no, Sainz did 150.
Okay, yeah.
And,
so
and
he's
finally won.
He's been around for a few years though now, and yeah, he's got that elusive first win at Hungary last year, but that was impacted by rain. But my point is, I mean, if last year it was Red Bull and Mercedes winning every race, but then there was a couple races sprinkled in where
this is a good another good trivia question.
I think Hamilton will get that win before the end of the year.
How many drivers on the grid don't have a win at all during their careers? Now
12.
Let's take out. Is that true?
It's a rough
Producer
guess.
Jamie might need to check that, but we need to think about that.
Well, let's just talk about it. You got Sebastian Vettel, you got Fernando Alonso, my boy.
That haven't won a race.
That haven't won. So we'll talk about the drivers that have won.
Okay,
and
yeah.
just subtract that by 20.
Math is hard, okay? Especially for a finance guy.
You got Alonso, you got Vettel, you got Hamilton, you got Bottas, right?
Yeah.
You got I don't think I'm going to be correct.
Verstappen.
You got Verstappen, you got Perez.
Sainz now.
Sainz.
Leclerc.
Ocon.
Chucky Leclerc.
That's
Ocon.
That's
Ricardo.
Ricardo, that's 10. So I was wrong.
So 10.
At least.
I feel like there's somebody else that
Pierre
won.
Gasly.
Pierre won one. Yeah, so 9.
2020 Monza.
And half of those guys are new anyways.
Yeah, so you got Yuki Tsunoda, who
Yuki,
that guy cusses so much on the radio, and it's always his fault.
He cusses worse than I do. I don't think maybe once.
I don't think you've let one slip yet today.
Not today. Yeah.
He's full of smiles off the track, I feel like, but then he's just so full of rage in the car.
But he's
and was it this weekend or the weekend before?
He's like a cute little kid cussing up a storm, man.
Yeah, he's got rage. He's got this.
He's got a psychologist now, though.
Oh, does he? I didn't hear about
Yeah,
that.
so in the, which I honestly thought was a little out of line. I don't necessarily think you need to ask people questions about their mental, physical health with as far as like, hey, have you gone to the doctor and seen a psychologist? I don't think that's the right question to ask if you're in the press conference, but they asked him about it.
Oh, yeah, they're unfiltered in that F1.
Yeah.
Those questions they ask, I love watching.
So they asked Yuki about it, and Yuki, you ain't hiding it, I guess. But he was like, yeah, I'm seeing a psychologist. It's good for my racing, I think, et cetera, et cetera. And then they asked the rest of the panel, and Max was like, well, I think, if you're not pissed off in the car sometimes, then, maybe you just don't love the sport anymore. Maybe it's just...
Oh, for sure. I mean, every driver gets pissed off, but certain drivers are more entertaining to listen to on the radio. And I think Yuki Tsunoda is one of those guys where
he's a fun one.
You're going to get some fun responses.
Yeah.
But I also think he's one of those winless drivers, right? He's still got something to prove,
Yep.
and I haven't really seen it out of him yet to be. He's had a couple good races in his career, but I think Gasly.
This year he's doing much better than last year, but he's had some errors that are almost, you just can't do those type of things, like running into the wall off a pit road, running into your teammate, taking you both out of the race. Just some things you can't do there. But overall, I think he's done a lot better this year.
It's I don't even know what his best finish this year's been, but I know he had a couple good runs last year. I just feel like him and really the AlphaTauri team, Pierre Gasly, I feel like they haven't had too many points finishes.
Yeah, I think Haas is beating them in the constructor standings right now.
I think so, and Haas is maybe the comeback of the year.
Killing it, man.
Yeah.
Well, we may get to Haas a little bit later when we talk about our driver lineups and champs of the week and our chumps of the week. But I think Haas has looked pretty good recently.
They have. They had they've got the Ferrari engines, and
yeah,
I feel like their season's kind of gone in line with the top Ferraris, where they started the year off strong, then they kind of went missing, and then these last 2 weeks they've had double points finishes with Schumacher and Magnussen.
You know, Gunther Steiner's happy. That dude.
Yeah, I need to hear the sound bites.
That's where Yuki gets his language from.
Oh, Gunther.
Got to, man.
Gunther.
Got
yeah.
to be.
Yeah, what a character. What a name.
I love Gunther, man.
Yeah, I love the Haas team, because they're the closest thing to the home team. They've got the American ties. I think they're based out of Charlotte, and we don't have.
I think their factory is in the UK.
Okay, yeah. Well, Gene Haas.
They're the American team.
He's still
with no American drivers and no American factory, but I think they're the American team because
for now.
Haas.
The Andretti's probably going to work something out here.
You think they will?
Well, I don't know that they'll actually go to.
That's a whole nother
change with Haas.
Yeah, that's a whole nother.
We'll talk about that during an off week.
Speaking of U.S. drivers, though, Logan Sargent, right?
Logan
Sargent, Formula 2 driver.
I haven't heard of him.
American driver in Formula 2. Got his second win in a row this weekend.
Good for him. What team does he drive for?
Williams.
Oh.
So Williams Jr., I think.
Yeah, see, I think I'm still more on board for Colton Herta being the American driver.
Yeah, that's another whole new... That is a really good topic I want to discuss eventually with you on the podcast. But today, let's get back to the race review podcast of the Red Bull Ring in Austria, which did I mention that at the beginning, that this is the race review podcast? This is the race review podcast. One thing I did want to get your opinion on, before we get to chumps, mailbags, this is a question, I know, this is a question that I think has gone around the paddock quite a bit over the past couple of weeks, specifically because of Silverstone. And then right after that, the juxtaposition of the Australian the Austria Grand Prix with the Verstappen fans. Silverstone, Hamilton fans booed Verstappen like it was their day job.
They weren't saying boo, they were saying boo earns, man.
No, they booed him every time he got passed, when his floorboard got destroyed, when he had to pit with the puncture, they booed him every time. They clapped every time somebody passed him. They hate the guy, right? Opposed to the Austria fans, the Verstappen fans with their orange flares, which looks awesome, by the way. But apparently, there was some controversy this week about them booing Hamilton when he crashed. Now, whatever your take is, I just want to say I'm okay with booing. I think that there's a line in the sand that you don't cross with regards to booing. Like, if somebody crashes and it looks bad, like, you probably don't want to boo that or cheer for that, right? But Hamilton skidding off and bumping the wall, like, come on, man, not a big deal. Like, you're fine, obviously. We just saw Joe Guan Yu, do upside down flips and walk away from it. Hamilton skidding off into the gravel and tapping his front wing against the wall is not the end of the world. Like, you ain't dead, buddy. You don't have to get all mad at the fans for booing.
Well, this has been a topic in the last few weeks prior to this incident where drivers were complaining about just getting booed, which I think is comical.
I think it's hilarious.
Well, I think it's. I remember. I think it was a race last year. Hamilton was in victory lane, was getting booed by the fans. I forget what track it was, and the announcer was telling them to hush or something.
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious because here with NASCAR, I mean that's what you do. You boo your least favorite driver. You cheer for the driver you love. There's the passion.
Kyle
right?
Busch is the heel of NASCAR, right? Like, he gets booed everywhere.
Yes. Yeah, he's the ultimate heel. He wins a lot, but his personality also, I think, turns some fans the wrong way.
Sure.
But now with Hamilton, I think this was Verstappen country, and it's one thing for them not to pull for him because they're Team Verstappen. I thought it was a little overboard for them to cheer any wreck, quite frankly. Until you see the driver get out of the car, because it did look like a hard hit. I saw it. I didn't think he would have been hurt in any way. These cars are so safe. I think a lot of people take for granted sometimes that you can get hurt in these.
That may be true.
I
probably take it for granted.
Not to mention it was just a practice or qualifying crash, and so it was. And not that makes a difference, but it was. It seemed to even be crazier that someone would get so excited about that. At least wait till he's out of the car, I thought, and that's any driver.
It's a fair point. Now I'll concede to you that point of, let's see the guy get out the car and kick the tire or make sure he's okay, and then we can be like, ha ha, you suck.
I would also say from a fan's perspective, if you're watching the sport, it's exceptionally funnier if you boo the guy once he emerges from, the torn apart pieces of metal of the car, as opposed to he crashes, he's invisible in there, you can't really tell what's going on, you start booing. Once he emerges, then the shadow, all the boos come in. To me, as a spectator, that's hilarious.
I think that's almost even crueler.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying. Like once you see he's okay, then the shower of boos come in.
Or like a player.
It's got a little more comedic.
Player tears his ACL and he's going off on a stretcher. And fans start booing him. Then
there's a difference.
That's what I compare it to.
There's a difference between tearing your ACL and tearing up your front wing, walking away from the car, giving your team a little more problem. Trying to fix the car, get ready for the race. You're okay, man. You didn't die. Your dog's fine. Nobody killed your dog. You're okay.
Well, Toto Wolff was having a really bad moment around that time because then,
upset.
2 minutes later, George Russell wrecks.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if this was actual radio copy and it was just made into a meme, but it was, I think during qualifying, engineered to George Russell. Lewis's wrecked, copy that or something.
Yeah.
Moments later, Russell copies that.
Yeah.
I kind of chuckled about that. That was a couple days later, though, after knowing both drivers were fine. I really think driver or fans can take for granted that the driving these things are dangerous, and it looked like it was he went through a lot of gravel before he hit the tire barriers. I was watching it during qualifying. I saw the onboard, and it looked like a harder hit. But that's
I just think most people are too sensitive, and lighten up. You got booed a little bit, or you got cheered about you messing up, basically.
I used to cheer. I have to admit, I used to be one of those people that would cheer, and I'm going back to NASCAR here, but I'll never forget. It was in 2011. Jimmy Johnson had won 5 straight championships. I was tired of seeing him win, and a few races left in the following season, he wrecks at Charlotte Motor Speedway. It's a really hard hit. I'm cheering. I'm excited. That takes him out of the championship hunt, and my driver's now in contention.
Yeah.
And that's how I thought of it. The next day, because I went to that race. It was in Charlotte, North Carolina. I drove back home here to Alabama the following day, I get home to find out that Dan Weldon was killed in an IndyCar crash, and I couldn't help but feel bad having cheered for that the night before, because it is a reminder that drivers can get seriously hurt in these things, despite how many crashes they go through, and they 99.9% of the time walk away. You forget about it, and so I think, to be fair to the fans that are booing,
I think these are all
that's a big part.
Fair points, and I'll concede like booing during a wreck, probably not the classiest thing to do. I understand that, but just overall, I think I'm okay with the booing, and everybody just needs to stop being so sensitive about it all the time. Like, if somebody wrecks, don't boo. Yeah, don't do that, right? Can we could agree? I'll agree with that.
You can boo them in driver intros for sure.
Boom in driver intros. Boom, cheer when they get passed. If they don't make it on the podium, heckle them a little bit. Don't say awful things about their family or something, or race or whatever. But like a little boo, don't kill nobody. Never hurt nobody. A little boo.
We'll have to agree to disagree on that.
That's fine.
Boo!
Boo! All right, well,
Boo earns.
on that note, let's go off to something a little bit more uplifting.
Now we're going to the mailbag.
So we're going to go to the mailbag questions.
Okay, can't wait.
I've got only 3 of them.
Who's it? This first one is first one's from Hans in Stuttgart, right?
So we got one from Hans in Stuttgart, who we don't know, and then I got 2 from friends that I told to email the mailbag.
Okay, cool.
Because I forgot to give the email out on the last podcast.
I'll put it on the screen here, and I'll flash it at the end for anyone who wants to email us.
Be sure to plug it this time. Yeah.
Oh, we'll plug it this time.
All right. Well, what does Hans have to say?
So for the mailbag, we want to email producer Jamie. What's our email? I forget.
It's f1wonderful@gmail.com.
So the F Wonderful podcast has an email F1
Link in the bio.
F and the number 1 wonderful @gmail.com. It'll be in the show notes, and it'll be in the link at the bottom. Okay.
Also 1-800-F1-WONDERFUL. If you
Don't
want
call that
That's
number.
not an active number yet.
It's not. Yeah, don't do that.
It's not 1990 anymore.
Email will get us just fine, or email Garrett at garrett.com /GHoney, right?
Sure.
That's not real either. All right.
That one will probably get bounced back to.
That one would get bounced back.
Well, you might get an interesting reply on that.
So this one,
I wouldn't be surprised either way.
Jamie picked out from the email from
Hans in Stuttgart.
Hans in Stuttgart.
What's his Twitter handle?
Not sure if he's on Twitter.
Is it
I'm not giving out his
Hans
personal
in-
information.
Okay.
He didn't link.
Let's hear.
Hans in Stuttgart.
I'm curious. He's our first mailbag question. Let's get to it.
So his question reads, "Hey guys, love the podcast. First episode was good. Got a question. 3 current drivers or just people in F1, he says. He says 3 current people in F1, so it could be driver apparently or whoever, that you would want to have a drink with. To get, like, in my mind, together. Like, we're all 4 hanging out. But go ahead. So, who's your 3?
Oh, well, Fernando Alonso, of course.
Tell us why. I mean, you're not just picking a guy. You're assembling a group here. You're assembling a crew. So you got to think about, group chemistry, how y'all are going to interact. Like maybe one guy you think would be cool on his own, but he's going to ruin it for the group.
Well, Fernando, he's just got a lot of racing experience. He's been in F1 for 20 years. He's done the Indy 500.
Longer than that, man. He's 40-something years old now. He's been in that for...
And we're close in age. I think that's another reason. Maybe he's got a few years on me, but he speaks Spanish. I'd like to enhance my Spanish speaking skills.
So you want Fernando and Carlos? They're both Spanish.
No,
just Fernando.
Yeah, Fernando, and then honestly, maybe Sebastian Vettel, just to kind of hear where his mind's at. He seems like he's not the same Sebastian that he was 10 years ago.
Like heading out the door, ready to call it quits.
Yeah, I think so. But then I think I'd be kind of scared with Toto Wolff maybe to hang out with that guy. Let's go with Valtteri Bottas.
So you want to learn some
Valtteri.
different languages? Toto Wolff can teach about 10 of them.
Yeah, I mean he's an interesting fellow, but I know
He'd be in my
fluent.
group.
Yeah,
I think Bottas may have
Bottas
an
would be-
espresso with you. I'm not sure if he'd have a beer.
Oh, you didn't. Oh, you must have not seen the video of him last year.
Does he drink?
I
I know he drinks
after-
like 10 espressos a day, apparently.
After the last race of the season last year, Mercedes had a big party.
Oh,
He was
did?
carried away in like the mosh pit. I think he had a few that night.
Toto did too. I did see a video of Toto after the race last year, at the end of the year.
It was the same party.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Who are your three personalities?
So Jamie gave us this question in pre-production. I've been thinking about it for a while, and
Hans from Stuttgart gave you the question.
well,
I got it from Hans. Yeah, sorry.
and so I was thinking about it, and I was like, okay, so I could do Toto, Christian, and Gunther.
Well,
So
Christian,
that'd be pretty
I mean,
damn good.
Is he bringing Ginger Spice with him?
No,
Oh.
because then that'd be 5. And I don't want Ginger. I want Gunther. So
Jerry Hell's her actual name.
What's her Spice Girl name?
Ginger Spice.
Ginger Spice.
Yeah. She still
Okay.
looks just as good as she did 20 years ago.
She's an attractive lady, and I think they have a place in what's their home called?
I don't know. Watch our last episode. I think we talked about it then.
Yeah, it shows like their estate on the Netflix series, and it's
It's
just,
probably
it's
filmed-
outrageous.
It's probably a set in Hollywood.
No, man, it's like that's their house.
New
man.
Wellington,
It's like a
England or
farm or some
something.
shit.
Oh, yeah.
They got
Anyway,
horses.
so it's the perfect.
So I think those 3 it would be Toto, Christian, and Gunther. I think would be fun.
Okay, so no drivers.
Well, I was thinking about them, and I was like, "But you gotta have drivers in there, right?" I think that'd be
Not
a good
necessarily.
table. I think another good table would be Verstappen.
Hans didn't specify drivers.
I've got a table to pick.
I've got so
A table to pick.
another so it would
I've
be.
got 3. I've got a crew of 3 to pick once you're done.
Oh, all right.
I'm gonna get this out eventually. All right.
Yeah.
The floor is yours.
The other 3 were all 3 drivers that I was thinking, and it was Verstappen, Alonso, and Mick Schumacher. Because I want to know more about Michael Schumacher, and Mick, it's his dad, right? And Mick would just be a cool guy, I think, to hang out with. Like, he seems down to earth for what he's been brought up in. Fernando Alonso and Verstappen are like best buds already. So it'd just be like hanging out with 2 best friends, and then Mick Schumacher, who, I don't know, he'd probably be the dud of the group, but I feel like he'd be fun to hang out with. And me. And I think we'd all get along, man. I think we'd all get along.
Well, Alonso too. He iRaces.
So we could talk about iRacing.
You could talk shop about
So,
iRacing.
yeah.
I'm surprised you don't have Lando Norris in there.
And honestly, that's who it'd be. It'd be Lando,
You're only allowed to pick
Fernando. No, this is my table, guys. This
Yeah.
is my table of beer drinking fun, all right?
Hans, he picks everyone.
Verstappen, Fernando, and Lando.
Okay.
We could
Wow.
talk about iRacing. We could talk about real racing. Probably wouldn't even talk about real racing. Probably just talk about iRacing all the time, or sim racing. And, we'd all be friends.
We probably
I
mention the
think.
podcast. And,
Well, I know that they listen to it. They're all friends of the podcast.
I
So-
hope they do. Maybe we'll get to have a drink with them one day.
Maybe. It could happen. Jamie, what was your table?
Yeah. Here, let me jump in real quick, fellas. I'm just a very casual viewer of the sport, and I'll keep it quick since I'm off camera. But I would definitely go Toto. That's probably my first round pick. I think the man is just endlessly fascinating. I think there's a lot to learn from picking his mind from just his worldly experience as a businessman, as someone who speaks many languages. Just a really worldly guy all around. I think
He's got that business sense. For
yeah,
sure.
I mean, there's just would be endless amounts of knowledge. I think he could pass along. I think I also had a couple drivers. I'm going to go Yuki Tsunoda. I feel like he's just kind of become quickly a bit of a personal favorite. I bet he's got kind of an interesting tale. I feel
You think he has a tail?
I think it's an interesting tale how he got TALE, how he got to the sport. I don't know if there's a lot of F1 drivers coming from Japan. And then I would also probably add.
Not many. First one since Takuma Sato, I think.
Okay, yeah. So I think there could be some fun conversations there. And then I probably would go Lewis Hamilton. The man has just been at the top of the sport for quite some time. I think he would provide a good contrast to like a young up-and-comer like Yuki. Helps that he speaks English as his first language. I think those three would have a fun dynamic, so that's what I'm going with.
Here's a fun drinking game. Take a shot every time Lewis says positivity in an interview.
You know what I haven't heard Lewis Hamilton say this year? My tires are gone, man. I
His
swear,
tires are great.
The past 3 races, his tires have been fantastic.
Yeah.
Pirelli really gave Hamilton the tires he needed this year.
Yeah, I think
Mercedes just didn't give him the car.
I think it's just gamesmanship with the tires.
Yeah, I got him. I like that table though, producer Jamie.
Yeah, very good answers, and you kept it to 3.
Yeah.
Unlike someone here.
I got 9 people at my table. Okay.
We got 2 alternate tables.
Hans, that's a
Got 2
terrible
alternate
question. You should have upped the number to 10. You can't pick from just 3.
You can't just pick 3 drivers when there's 20 on the grid. I mean,
one thing I'll say about Toto Wolff.
No, good question. Hans.
When I was
Stuttgart.
when I was watching the Drive to Survive series on Netflix, and I didn't really know a lot of the personalities at that point. It was Toto Wolff in one of the episodes where he was in where I got hooked on the show for the next season, I guess. But he is perfect TV character for that show, and I mean it's really him. Although Netflix probably hypes it up to make it more character based. But yeah, I mean just the interviews and the sound bites from him and listening to him in the race. No, Mikey, no, that is so not right.
Classic Toto quote. I mean, you show a picture of Toto last year. That comes to mind.
No, Mikey, no.
Yeah.
Have to say it again.
Yeah.
And the other one where he was asking him if Mikey checked his email during the race. I thought that was hilarious.
Oh yeah, you sent him pictures.
Yeah.
He sent him like a draw. He said he sent him a drawing. He was like, I sent you a drawing of the.
Yeah, and he's like, no, I haven't checked my email. I'm officiating a race. I can't check it right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess they no more of that in 2022. They banned that rule where you can talk to the race directors.
Yeah, that's a whole another thing, man. So, all right. So, second question we got in the mailbag.
Yeah, let's hear it.
This comes from a family friend, but their question is, what did you think of the track limits at the Austria Grand Prix? So, this coming from the stewards were giving out penalties and track limit warnings like it was candy.
It's a very good point.
So let me tell you what I think before we get to what you think, because I've been thinking about it. And I think if I get a penalty on iRacing for crossing that white line, they should get a penalty in real life for crossing that white line. And I don't care how hard it is, or if you can't see it, or if you're going too fast, like slow down. That's the point. It's the white line. Don't cross it. I also get the point, though, that just because you cross the white line doesn't give you an advantage. It may actually make it worse for you or slow you down. So I'm on the fence. Officially, I don't know what's better. The track limits being the white line and them enforcing it as strictly as they did, or kind of playing it by ear and saying, well, you didn't gain an advantage, so we're not going to penalize you because you actually lost, a tenth or half a second or whatever. But I don't know how hard that would be to do either. So I'm okay with it being the white line. I can see both points. Change my mind.
Simplest solution, which won't happen. They could just put grass out there.
Put some grass, put some gravel, right?
And then it's going to be, they won't do it for the sake of safety. But maybe that's the direction you go. Have something where it's a part, maybe it's not pavement, but it's surface that's not going to cause you to spin out, slows you down. Maybe put some glue or something sticky down there.
Is that what they have at Paul Ricard?
Probably give you more grip actually if they did that, which would be advantageous.
Because it's an ugly track because they have all that crap.
They have like 170 different configurations. It kind of reminds me of the Circuit of Americas, I feel like. But yeah, the track limits was a big. It was more noticeable yesterday. I think historically at this track, it's been an issue where it's the way the track's shaped, and it's just drivers getting the most they can out of their car. It's hard not to cross the line sometimes.
And it is harder to see in these cars.
At the end of the day, though, I feel like I haven't seen that many 5-second time penalties given out.
We saw a bunch this weekend.
I don't know how much it impacted the race because it was.
Well, Russell got a 5-second penalty and he finished 4th.
Yeah, well, he also replaced his wing from that incident with Perez on lap 1, so I think that's what also cost him a good bit of time. So I think even without that, he probably still would have finished 4th. I think Hamilton, he might have got a podium, but I think Hamilton was still a good bit ahead of him. But yeah, it was I think more noticeable, but I don't know that it was really a huge issue. It just seems like it's more frequent at this track.
Yeah, I agree. I think just put a little gravel out there. I think your first point there was spot on.
Yeah,
put some gravel, put some grass.
Yeah. Maybe,
if you go offline, like, you don't have to penalize them because they're going to be, last in the pack or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Or spin off into,
Yeah, I think until it starts deciding the winner.
Yeah.
Or interfering with the outcome of the race.
Well, did you notice that Leclerc and Verstappen were both told by their team that they had gotten warnings for track limits, like early in the race, and they never got another one after that?
Not that we know of, but I think
I
think it's the third one you get.
So,
where they,
you think they were being a little lenient on the front leaders and maybe a little more strict on the mid-pack folks?
No, I think they call it as they see. I mean, they can easily tell with video whether they do it or not. So I think
maybe they should just have sensors.
I think the drivers also just probably see how much they can get, and maybe they do have sensors. There's enough technology in those cars to have one.
Yeah.
Certainly.
They should have a sensor.
But
and then if they go over the track limits, the car kicks into 40% power. You have to slow down for half a second to a second, 2 seconds, whatever. You didn't get the 5-second penalty. You didn't gain anything. It's all done within,
Well, then you got the poor fellow behind you minding his own business and got a car going 40%.
Sure.
And you got.
I don't think about these things.
It's potentially very dangerous.
I don't think it's
Yeah.
potentially.
I like the ingenuity though of not having to assess the 5 seconds later.
Yeah.
And penalizing in real time, but it does sound like a serious danger element.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at other road racing series. You go off track,
And they give them enough
in
warnings,
in the
right?
dirt,
You
not
get
racing.
like 4 warnings.
There's plenty of warnings, and I think maybe the drivers at the beginning see how much they can get away with. And,
Yeah.
Okay.
None of them were very happy about it. None of the
Yeah,
drivers.
they never agree with it. That's the racing spirit for you.
It's true.
Great mailbag question.
Yeah. I think that was all the mailbag. Did I have a third
You
one?
had a third one.
I don't.
Yeah, from Rocco in Australia sent one in. We don't want to forget about Rocco in Australia.
Man, we're international
Did
already.
Did we lose Rocco's email?
I don't.
mean, if you don't have it there in your notes, I'll pull it up. We
Yeah.
have to get to Rocco next week.
Pull it up.
We may have to get to it next week.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll
We'll
check
get to
in with
Rock-
Rocco on the bye week.
Rocco, we didn't forget about you.
We didn't forget Rocco. I just did not write it down. And
I hope we didn't lose a fan there.
Rocco's family friend.
Oh, okay. Can't lose family.
We had, like I said, we had 2 family friends, and I'll apologize. I'll buy Rocco a beer next time I see him in Australia. And the other one was from another family friend. And then we had Gunther. No, who was it?
Hans. In Stuttgart.
In Stuttgart.
In Stuttgart. He was the real fan, so we had to get to him first.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get to Champ of the Week.
Is it champ?
Champ of the Week.
Or champ and chump?
Well, we'll do Chump next.
Okay. So champ of the week. All right. So what's the criteria? I love this new segment, but what's the criteria for it?
So champ of the week is your champ of the week. Who won the week? Whether they didn't have to win the race, they just had to be the guy that did the best, maybe with the best that was given to them, or maybe they outperformed what was given to them, or maybe I mean, it's your champ. You tell me who it is.
It sounds like it's kind of an arbitrary distinction you can make, but maybe who outperformed expectations as opposed to who won the race.
Yeah, I mean, it could be the guy who won the race, driver of the week.
It's like the F1.
So F1 does
of the
driver
day.
of the week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or driver of the
Driver
day.
of the day. Yeah.
And they go vote on it during the race, and so we're doing champ of the week. Who is your champ of the week?
Oh, let's see. I'm going to surprise a lot of people here with my champ of the week. Didn't hear from him all race. Quietly got a points finish. Go with Lando Norris, finishing 7th.
Oh,
Huge accomplishment, I feel like, for that team right now. They've been out to sea. I don't know in how many races. It's hard to believe that he's got a podium this year. It doesn't seem like it, but Saturday, both McLarens looked so bad in qualifying. I thought for sure they weren't going to be anywhere near contention for.
they've been bad all year.
Points finish. So I got to give Lando some credit, finishing 7th. Even Ricciardo got a 9th place, I think. But top performing McLaren again. I didn't hear about him once in the race. I was shocked to hear that they got that. There was a lot of good drives Sunday, but I think Lando's going to be my first champ of the week.
Would you be shocked to hear that McLaren and Alpine are tied in the constructors?
That is shocking. I figured Alpine would be much further ahead.
Right?
Yeah,
Much.
but I mean, like I said, it's.
But Lando has had a podium.
Lando got that podium at Imola, and that was, I think, the third, fourth race of the season.
Yeah.
And he's had some good runs. He's been a lot better than Ricciardo, and Alonso's had some. I know some pretty bad finishes where he didn't get any points, not because of performance. So I still think when you compare those two teams based off just pure pace, I give it to Alpine. But yeah, that is surprising. I didn't know that about the constructors between those two.
So I think my champ of the week, and this goes, covers all 3 days, right? 3 days because it was a sprint weekend. So we had qualifying, the sprint race, and then the real race. And that's a good answer, Lando. You really didn't hear from him at all during the race. I like that a lot, actually.
Hipster pick.
Good hipster pick right there.
I feel like that's the antithesis of a hipster pick. I thought the hipster pick would be.
I don't know what hipster means.
I thought the hipster pick would be Mick Schumacher.
Well, so Mick Schumacher won the actual driver of the day from the F1 folks.
Yeah.
And I gotta give it to Mick Schumacher for champ of the week. And here's why. The dude qualified in the top 10. He holds off Hamilton for like 12 laps, it seemed like, an eternity for half of the sprint race. Hamilton could not pass the Haas, could not pass Mick Schumacher, could not get past him at all until he did at the end. But it took him a long time.
DRS train, man. It's a.
But Mick
a killer.
Mick had some great defensive driving moves, and Hamilton there was no opening until the end. And then during the real race, he finishes 6th in a Haas.
Yeah, that
was. You know, is this his rookie season? Technically, no, but some people see it as a rookie season because last year's car was so bad and they didn't try to, win at all or make any upgrades or anything. So some people see this as his first season, but regardless, he's fresh and he's got 2-point scores in a row, weeks in a row. And his whole weekend, he had a little fire in his belly, and the interview after the sprint race, you could tell like he got angry a little bit. I loved it.
He was
I loved
motivated by the haters.
Mick.
Yeah, good for him. Good for him. Finally getting that first points
Champ of
finish
the week.
last week. Of the week for sure. Because if you go back to Silverstone,
Yep.
got his first points finish there, and then outdid himself this week. And
Good job,
I didn't see that coming there. What about the experience he gets too, holding off Hamilton for those last few laps, and then battling Verstappen the week before?
Exactly.
I mean, that's almost
That's gotta
just
be,
as big as the points finish is,
Yeah.
is the experience battling with two champions, right?
It's got to be for something right there.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
give him some experience.
Yeah, I like your answer better than mine. I think that maybe I changed my vote already.
I like Lando.
Ooh.
Just
Give
kidding.
me
I'm
those.
sticking with Lando.
All right, now we're gonna do the chump of the week.
Jump.
What a chump! Who's the chump? Who's just? And again, you know they don't have worst driver of the day in F1, so we're kind of making up our own category here. But who just had a terrible weekend? You know, did everything wrong that could go wrong, went wrong. Just poor performance from a guy maybe that you think is capable of a lot more or has done a lot more in the past.
You know, I can't really think of a driver this week.
I can.
I might have to give it to the safety crew out there for how long it took them to get to Sainz. I know we talked about it earlier, but that it's not acceptable. They gotta. When the car's on fire, you can't. That's the worst thing to see. It's worse than a car going upside down is seeing a driver still in their car
On fire.
in the fire. Yeah.
Well, fire in Formula One is scary. I mean, when a car catches on fire, any racing series.
Fire in general is scary.
Yeah.
I'd be. Yeah.
We love the volunteers at the track. We think. I mean, races could not happen without those people, right?
Yeah,
We just need them to be better.
Yeah, you wouldn't.
Don't run away from the
Cautions.
They need to tighten it up.
You'd have to do something.
Just tighten it up a little bit.
Yeah, I expected better from the safety team there. I always thought they were quick to get to this thing. So that's my chump of the week.
I was gonna go Gasly. Reichten sprint race.
Yeah, he hasn't done well in those sprint races. He's had terrible first lap.
Had a terrible Grand Prix overall, I think. But then I looked at the final standings and I saw Yuki finish behind him.
What else?
So Gasly wrecked in sprint, got a 5-second penalty in the race,
Yeah, so did everyone.
and Yuki still finished behind him.
I think Yuki had like 2 penalties.
Chump of the week's got to be Yuki for me. I love Yuki. Don't send the hate mail to Garrett at Garrett / whatever that email was. But Yuki, you got to do better, bro.
I'm not the one talking bad about him. They should be sending that hate mail to you.
No, hate mail goes to Garrett's email.
Oh, okay. Even if I don't.
Love letters come to the f1wonderful@gmail.com.
Along with mailbag. Yeah.
Along with mailbag questions, gifts, cards,
Sponsorship requests.
sponsorship requests.
So all right. So my email, I take all the hate. I get
Yeah.
the heat. I get it.
Yeah.
I can handle it.
So yeah, I gotta go with Yuki. But last little fun who's the driver question, I guess, is or last, I guess, moment of the race. What was your and we can call this segment whatever you guys want to call it. In my mind, I was thinking like moment of the race or cool things or
We'll
your
workshop it.
thing of the weekend. What was your thing? What was your favorite thing that you saw this weekend at the Austria Grand Prix?
That's a loaded question. My favorite thing. I think it's every weekend. Lights out, man.
Lights out and away we go.
Nothing better than waking up on a Sunday morning early, maybe going to Waffle House, get your little waffle and a sausage, egg, and cheese grit bowl. Bring it back to the house. Put it on the pre-race. About 5 minutes before lights out, and then just the green lights. That's always the.
Well, there are no green lights, right? It's 5 red lights.
The lights
and
out.
Lights out, and where are we going?
Green.
The green flag.
Yeah.
It's NASCAR though.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Green means go.
I got it. Green means go.
The start-
Green means
start-
go.
Yeah.
That's from Paw Patrol.
Start's always the.
I got 3 kids, so green means go.
I agree with them.
Yeah. Okay. So that was your, but you
Yes.
can't choose that every week, okay?
I'll think
You
of
gotta come
something.
up with something
I'll think of
next
something
week.
better.
But I agree
During the off
that's always a good one. It's one of my favorite things every weekend. But my thing this weekend, my moment of the weekend, the finger wag. The finger wag.
Oh, I completely forgot about that.
The finger wag.
Yeah, that's mine. I changed my vote. The finger
So,
wag. Yes.
Fernando Alonso. I don't even remember who. I think it was Yuki. Was it Yuki?
Is our Instagram
Or was it
page-
Gaslit?
Is our
He was
Insta-
going by an Alpha Tauri.
Is
It's
our-
on our Instagram account.
Our
F1
Instagram page is posted.
Wonderful. If you go to what is it at on Instagram or is that Twitter?
It's Twitter.
So what's Instagram? Hashtag?
Just you can just
Links
look
in
it
the
up. It's
bio.
F1 Wonderful.
Links in the bio for Instagram, or search F1 Wonderful and you'll see the finger wag. Alonso passing one of the Alpha Tauris going
Tsunoda.
down the hill
Again.
into turn 4.
There's a pass
The
in
Alpha
the grass,
Tauri
man.
pushed him onto the grass. Fernando makes the pass anyways, and you know he did it for the camera because whoever's driving the
Gives
other
him-
car.
gives him a finger lecture.
If you're
yeah.
driving that other car, you can't see the finger wag. Can you?
I'd like to see Yuki's on board about
I
it.
wonder if you can see it. I don't think you can see it, but I think he does it for the camera. But anyway, so he passes him, and he just gives him a little, little Dikembe Mutombo,
Yeah, he's
No,
like
no.
twice his age. That's the teacher.
Twice his age.
That's the
man.
teacher learning the student right
yep,
there.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah,
So that was my.
that was
thing of the
awesome.
weekend.
Yeah, and then that was a heck of a drive Alonso had starting last to get a point.
It was.
out of it.
So like in the sprint race, he couldn't get off the grid because they left the tire blankets on. He had an issue or something, so he didn't even start the sprint race. Started last in the race. Still came away with points, right?
Yeah, I mean it's you could think it's what could have been because he probably could have been 5th, but I think given the fact that he had to start shotgun to come back and get any points out of it was amazing.
Last thing before we go, so who's in the constructors lead? We still got Red Bull in the constructor lead.
Yeah, Red Bull still got a pretty healthy lead, I believe.
Ferrari second.
Yeah, well, and then that was what was bad for Ferrari yesterday, even though they got the win with Leclerc and beat Verstappen. Verstappen still got a bonus point for the fastest lap. Perez also got Perez didn't get any points.
Yeah. So,
but he was out
Sainz
early.
DNF
and Sainz had that late DNF, so it pretty much nullified any advantage Ferrari.
Yeah.
Any gains they could have got.
And
at that
Leclerc gained only, I think, 5 points on Verstappen.
Yeah,
So-
well, and then the sprint race too. I mean,
Yeah.
I think Ferrari maybe got a little bit more than Red Bull,
Yeah.
but still, they closed the gap a little, but probably not as much as they would have hoped.
Mercedes is still third. I think they hauled away like 30 points or something this weekend, 27.
Yeah, they've been consistent.
It seems like they are not even out of the, championship yet.
Yeah.
I mean, they probably are. Mathematically, they're not.
Mathematically, I think Haas is still in it. So
Okay. Haas and Alpine are tied in the championship.
Williams is probably still in it if we're talking mathematically.
Haas and Alpine, we talked about, they're tied in the championship. I think they're like 7th. Alpine's way down there. Alpha Tauri's way down there. McLaren and Alpine. Somebody's tied.
McLaren and Alpine is what.
Maybe we should
surprised
get
me.
this pulled up on the.
No, I think it's McLaren and Alpine because I
Okay.
think Haas for them just getting points still is kind of a big deal. They haven't.
But
done
they're
that
beating Alpha
consistently.
Tauri though.
Well, yeah, AlphaTauri's had a down
Williams
year.
still sucks.
Yeah, Williams, almost not as bad as Aston Martin, but
Yeah.
maybe, well, yeah, they probably are.
Yeah, they probably are. And Latifi apparently retired from the race. I didn't realize that until it was over.
Yeah, it's a non-story, really.
Yeah,
Now that Mazepin's gone, he's the new
it's
Mazepin.
true. He probably won't be around next year. You think?
Doesn't sound like.
Doesn't sound like. And then drivers' championship, we still got Max at first. We still got Perez second.
No, Leclerc jumped Perez this week. So,
He did.
Yeah, so Leclerc's 38 behind Verstappen.
So Verstappen, Leclerc,
yeah, then you got Perez.
Perez,
Sainz.
Sainz.
Yeah, and then I think Russell's still fifth, despite Hamilton having a good string of podiums these last few weeks. But Hamilton's closing the gap on Russell.
Yeah.
But then it's probably Lando Norris or Ocon, I think, at that point. But by this at that stage, you're still so far down the standings that
I just thought of another thing of the weekend. You can use this one.
Okay.
So 5 wide, going into turn 2, 3. Did you see that in the race?
Yeah, I'm sure they did.
You had the 2 Haas's. You had Alonso. You had I think Joe was in there, Joe Guan Yu, and maybe like an AlphaTauri, and like 5 cars going into the corner together.
5 wide's
It's a
a
lot
great
of fun.
thing.
NASCAR ain't got nothing on us.
Well, that's the point of the starts. I think the starts really promote that in F1.
They do.
They get 5 wide pretty quick.
All right, guys. I think that will. Producer Jamie has something to say.
No, I was going to tell you. Why don't you tell our faithful viewers, how they can help our algorithm?
Yeah. So
Like, subscribe,
yeah. So I was
comment.
gonna say. I think. And then, final thoughts. Unless anybody's final thoughts.
Just like and subscribe. If you watched it, we appreciate it. You clearly are a hardcore fan. Might as well like and subscribe as well to keep. We got families to feed and stuff.
So you can comment on YouTube, subscribe to the Instagram.
Yeah, we got.
Be my friend, please.
All right, so our YouTube channel is F1 Wonderful. Our Instagram is F1 Wonderful. Our email is f1wonderful@gmail.com. And our podcast name is F Wonderful. Okay? So don't get it mistaken. You got all the platforms that you can subscribe to, share, press the like buttons, and comments. We love comments. You can post comments on YouTube. We'll check that stuff too for some questions maybe. But definitely email the mailbag, and just appreciate you tuning in, watching us, and we'll catch you next week. I think we got an off week before the next race.
Yeah, but we're not taking that week off. We're gonna have some really good
We'll
bonus
be back.
content. We'll talk about our favorite F1 races we've ever watched.
We'll be back
in many other surprise topics.
this Sunday, Monday-ish. We'll let you
A week
know.
from now.
We'll post it on the Instagram exactly what day the thing will drop. The podcast will drop. But yeah, so follow us, subscribe. We love you. We appreciate you sticking around. And, race on, brothers.
No
Appreciate
days
it.
off in this garage.
Enjoy the off weekend, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.